Welcome back to Two Dads Talking. We've got a craptacular episode today with some really fun updates and me talking about pooping in a bathroom stall and a train ride and all kinds of fun stuff for you guys today.
I love how I think I know what we're going to talk about.
It's never quite all of it.
It's a whole picture. Okay, well, I guess I'll get into the first and perhaps most important business. So, you guys may probably know we spent a fair amount of time, not as long as those two did, but a fair amount of time talking about Bonnie Blue versus Lily Phillips. And Lily Phillips she got some version of internet fame for a while for supposedly sleeping with 100 men in, Tom, help me out here, 12 hours and 32 minutes or whatever it was. Something
About
like that.
that, yeah.
It was something like 12 hours.
About 6 hours per guy, or 6 minutes per guy.
Yes, exactly. And then another OnlyFans star lady, I call her a star, I don't know, it's really helping her out, I think, a little bit, named Bonnie Blue. She claimed, no real evidence other than the claim and her, producer or whatever, backing her up, but she claimed that she slept with 1,057 men in under 24 hours. That was the claim. We spent way too much time figuring out how that would work and what that timing would look like, and if there's, the COVID 6 feet and all that fun stuff. So, as it turns out, the reports now are that Bonnie Blue is pregnant.
Go figure. And Doug
Right.
found some interesting math on this.
Yeah.
If she used birth control, and birth control is effective 99.9% of the time, then it should fail approximately one time in 1,000 sexual encounters.
Yep. Or in this case, 1 in 1,057.
Yep. The math checks, even on birth control. The odds are pretty good she was going to get pregnant that day, which is not something I had thought about, and I wish I had while we were talking about it.
But I was on birth control. Yeah, and it's effective 99.9. It's like hand sanitizer.
If you'd have stopped at 900, you might have been okay.
I'd have been all right. But then it gets better.
Oh, it does.
The next plot twist.
It gets even danker.
Even darker. The very next day, I see that Lily Phillips might be pregnant also. People are throwing that around on Twitter.
If that photo is authentic, then that girl is pretty preggers.
Or she just had a lot of food in the last 2 weeks.
That's not a
and it didn't go
belly.
anywhere else.
That's a baby bump.
You know what? A while ago just decided that I would never 100% assume that a baby bump is a baby bump.
Which is why you're going to live longer than me.
That's the only reason. Just one.
Blake Lively did that to someone on TV a while back. But when Blake Lively was pregnant and had a bump, and the woman interviewing her said something about her baby bump, and Blake Lively said something back like, "Well, you've got one too. Let's not just talk about mine." And the woman interviewing her was not pregnant, and in fact can't have children, it turns out. So it was like a real slap.
Well, that's like a double whammy.
Yeah,
it's even worse. Well, I have a story of like 2 degrees of separation story. A doctor who was like an OBGYN, like works in maternity wards, one time saw a woman in the hospital and said, "Oh, when are you due?" And she burst into tears because she was not pregnant. And he was like, "I will never again. Like, I see these women all day, every day, and I know when you're like pregnant versus not." He's like, "I will never think, presume, say anything again as long as I live." And it's like, this is the one person who should know, at least who's a man. So yeah, that's why when I see even this photo, like, it looks authentic, and I'm like, nope, I'll wait for someone else to say yes and just go along with it.
That's fair. And you know what? Since you're talking about OBGYNs, I know a couple of gynecologist jokes. I'm going to tell those today for my dad jokes. We're going to tell some gynecologist jokes.
Oh, that's so nice, because I had 2 pregnancy jokes lined up.
Look at how perfectly this is lined up.
We're like twins.
Rusty. We've got this.
We're like pregnancy twins.
There's no rust. We're in sync. This is smooth. We got this.
This is twin dads talking. Tom is the older twin. He was born 5 years before I was.
Is that all?
It was really long, laborious labor.
That's why I'm such an old, cranky conservative. That's exactly why, because I'm older. I'm a different
I don't
generation.
know. Maybe it's only like 3 years. I can't remember how old you are. I don't really care. I just think it's 40.
I'm
That's
almost
all.
43. Yeah, almost
Oh, oh,
43.
oh, ew.
Yeah, yeah, we're
Oh,
almost there.
wow. It's definitely 5 years.
I'm like 42 going on 65. So, yeah.
No, aren't we all?
Yeah, so who'd have thunk you? Lily Phillips and Bonnie Blue pregnant. And the kicker with the Lily Phillips thing, if she's pregnant, like again, I'll make the assumption so you don't have to. If she's pregnant, then the way the timing lines up, she was pregnant when she accomplished this goal. I don't want to call it a feat. I don't want to call it an accomplishment challenge. When she went through this particular challenge and accomplished it, that means she was pregnant when it happened. So that's kind of interesting.
Yes. Which means,
I don't know what that means. I really don't. That's the
I,
best birth control, right? That's 100% effective. None of those guys knocked her up.
yes, correct. I think we don't know. It could have been like a repeat customer,
I guess that's true.
you
Yeah,
know,
that's
it
true.
could have been. I'm not, I plead the fifth on everything. If I'm
That was a fun
dumb,
update.
I will get even dumber if anyone asks me anything specific. Okay. I liked it. I just love that both of those things were backed up. And again, it just because of the timing of these reports, I can't help thinking that some of it is also manufactured. Bonnie Blue is supposedly pregnant. Okay, like she supposedly slept with 1,057 men. And then like the very next day it's like, hey, Lily Phillips is pregnant too. Like, did her PR team go, we should
It's
let
like they're
this,
competing.
like, right, like, and did she just pose for this photo and have one of those, like, fake pregnancy things for the
Right.
movies underneath?
It'd be
And
hilarious if she's not pregnant and she did it to troll Bonnie Blue. Like the whole point was just
that
to
would
troll
be
her. Like, oh,
so
you stole
funny.
my shade, my sunlight the other time. Like you're gonna see a picture of Bonnie Blue eating like one of those 12-inch Frankfurters on the street. Someone's gonna get like a picture of that. And the next thing you'll see is Lily Phillips with like a bratwurst in each hand, just no teeth on the bratwurst. It's gonna be
Like,
hilarious.
I'd rather see her running a hot dog stand like Trump,
I
like
would
working out of the
I would
McDonald's.
not trust any of those hot dogs. I would not eat a single hot dog.
You don't have to eat them. You just need to see it. I don't
No, I
know.
don't even need to see it. I'm good. I feel like I can go on to OnlyFans if I wanted to and see all the hot dogs in there I want to see. I'm good. You want to
So
talk about
you,
Philadelphia? Let's let's talk about Philadelphia. Woo!
let's just get out of this. Pun intended.
Come to a different story. So the Eagles won the Super Bowl, and I had some business travel lined up for Philadelphia. And
Whoops.
the big reason I was rooting for the Eagles to win the Super Bowl is because I was really hoping that city would not get burnt to the ground before my business trip. And so I'm glad they won, and the city was mostly intact. And yeah, I had a little,
As it usually is,
as it usually is.
mostly intact.
Yeah, mostly intact. I had a little 3-day business trip down to Philadelphia, which all in all was a very nice trip. Everything went better than I could have hoped, better than I would have expected. If you'd have asked me my best case scenario for this trip, what actually happened is better than what I would have told you the best case scenario was. So everything went really well. Super positive trip. However, we're going to talk a little bit about the journey and not the destination, as Brandon Sanderson would want journey before destination. I took a train instead of a plane. After doing the math and
Or an
realizing,
automobile.
or an automobile, after doing the math and realizing I had about an hour and 10-minute drive from my house to the airport, and then I had to be there an hour early and get through security, and then sit on an hour and a half flight, and then get out of the airport and do the whole thing backwards on the way back. I decided a train ride that was about 4 hours and 45 minutes was about the same amount of time and would be way more comfortable. So let's take a train. I haven't been on a train in forever. And if you've not taken a train up and down the East Coast, New England especially, it is a beautiful train ride, especially around like southeast Connecticut. You are basically just hugging the coastline and seeing all these beautiful little towns on the side of the ocean and lots of rivers and wetlands. And you go through Mystic and Niantic, and it's just a legitimately gorgeous trip. It's really nice. And I had like a 4-seater all to myself the whole way down, which was really cool. I had room to spread out. I got some work done. I got some writing done. I put some time in on a short story. And the fun begins somewhere between, gosh, I guess might have been Mystic and they got on, or maybe it was New London. I think it was New London. Two young ladies got on the train and sat down in the 4-seat across the aisle from me and immediately just stretched out and passed out side by side, kind of cute. They were snoring. It was adorable. They were kids. I thought they were, high school kids on a trip somewhere. And it was just kind of cute. I'm like, oh, that's good. Kids getting out, being wholesome, traveling. But then they woke up somewhere around, oh gosh, I don't even remember where it was. Stanford, maybe? Just, 30 minutes, 45 minutes before New York. And they wake up almost at the same exact time. It's almost like they had an alarm set. And both of them just immediately pull these massive makeup bags out of their bags, these makeup kits that probably took up 2/3 of the space in that bag. And they immediately set their phones up with the camera facing them and they start doing makeup in the train. And I kind of seeing this going, huh, well, that's odd. I'm kind of trying not to stare, but it's a weird little spectacle on this train. And then they start talking. And this is the part that hurt my heart as a dad and made me really realize here is one of those things, one of those goals you can set as a dad and keep in mind, and just something I really hope I can do better with my daughter than these kids' parents did with them. One of them is doing something. They had brushes and they had pencils and they had stuff that looked like torture devices, like things I don't recognize. I don't know what some of these things were they were using to put
Those
on
are
makeup.
eyelash curlers. If it looks like a torture device,
Okay, so probably that, yes.
it looks like it'll curl something else.
And not going there. So as one of them's doing that, she says, and this is the first thing I actually heard, and it got my attention, and this is what kind of was a gut punch for me. It made me think about my daughters and how I have to do better. First thing she says is, "Oh my God, I am so gross when my eyelashes aren't right. I am just so gross." And to hear someone say that they are gross, that to say I am gross without my makeup, I just wanted to give this girl a hug and be like, hey, your parents probably love you a great deal and you're probably a wonderful human being. Why do you care about your makeup this bad? Like, I think you just need a hug. Obviously, I didn't do that. I don't want to get arrested and go to jail. So I didn't do that. But I just wanted to give this girl a hug. And as I start listening now, the conversation continues right down that avenue. It was a brunette girl and a blonde girl, although the blonde girl was fake. So I should call her brunette, faux brunette. But she had like the brown roots and like the blonde tips, and she was very fixated on her image. And she's talking to the brunette girl, and they're both going back and forth about, oh my God, I'm so ugly right now. Can I borrow this? Hey, that color didn't come out right on me. We need to stop somewhere and get something. I am just hideous looking. He won't even talk to me if I show up looking like this. I need to fix this. Clearly, the makeup was being done to get a boy's attention and approval. And all I could think was, good grief. I've got to raise my daughters to not feel like they need a boy's approval on their physical appearance. And I have got to raise my son to not put a girl in this position. I've somehow got to do better with all of my kids. And I don't know how to do that exactly. I try to instill confidence. And what we're finding is my oldest is a little bit lacking in confidence, despite our efforts. And it turns out it's hard to make a kid confident. So we try a lot of positive reinforcement and a lot of little trips and things I picked up. But I'm still struggling. And because I know she's struggling a little bit with confidence, it made me a little extra afraid that this was going to be my daughter's fate. And I was just, the whole time they're talking, it was just blowing my mind. Like, these poor girls, oh my gosh, why is this that important to you? And I didn't even go down the whole trip until much later of, oh, is this something that women have been saying all along that I never paid attention to? Like, men treat them like this, and this is how they feel about themselves for a reason. Like, I didn't go down that trip until like hours later, because the next thing that one of these girls that I heard her say, they were talking and mumbling. I didn't hear everything, but the next thing that caught my attention made me want to throw up and made me worry about my son. And it was blonde talking to brunette. And she said, and I'm going to paraphrase because I don't remember the exact words. I did type it on my laptop as we were going because I was like, there's no way I just heard what I think I heard. And I was really trying to get exact quotes. But my laptop has died and I haven't charged it since I got home. But what she said to her is, listen, there's a trick to that. I'll tell you how to do it. When he goes to put on the condom, tell him, no, you want to do it with your mouth and he will let you. And when you do that, you can bite down on it and break the tip of the condom and you can put a hole in it. And by the time it actually breaks and he realizes it, it's going to be too late and he won't stop anyway. And I heard her say that and it took a minute for it to sink into my head. And I just, at that point, no longer wanted to hug these girls. Now I wanted to go warn the boys they were going to meet that this girl's trying to trap you. And the conversations continued and she was giving this girl tips on how to get pregnant without this boy that they were going to see knowing that he was going to knock her up. She was trying to trap somebody. And I can't help, like, I really did think they were high schoolers at first. After I heard these conversations, I decided to give the benefit of the doubt. And I guess they were young looking college girls. I hope to God that's right. And these aren't high school girls thinking this way at that age. But oh my God, the way this conversation went, it started off being, I'm not good enough without makeup. I'm ugly, I'm hideous, I'm gross. Oh my God, that was terrible. We need to stop and spend money so I can fix myself because he won't even look at me. He won't talk to me. And then it turned into this is how you get pregnant and you trick him into getting you pregnant. And I heard stuff that just blew my mind. It was really, really bizarre. And I wasn't ready. They clearly did not care who was listening. There was a woman sitting with her back to them, like back to back chairs. And she looked over at me at one point, and I looked up and caught a glance, and she was mortified. I thought she was going to come over the chair and say something at one point. I really did. But I just sat there absorbing what I could. And oh my God, Doug, I just hope my kids don't turn out that way. And in my head, it's like, of course they won't, because I love my kids. I make sure they know I love my kids. And that solves a lot of these problems. And that avoids a lot of these problems. That's a big part of my philosophy. Make sure your kids know they're loved and they won't turn into strippers with daddy issues, desperately seeking approval from rich older men. That's a big part of my like parenting tenet. But good God, I don't know. Like, this made me nervous. This made because it started off with, oh, look at these girls out having a social time, all snuggled up on a train. This is cute. And then, oh, it's weird. They're doing makeup. And then, oh my God, they have no self-esteem. Like, I ran the gamut here as a dad. Like, oh, I hope my daughter goes out on trips like this one day. And then, oh, I hope my daughter never feels that way. And then, holy shit, this girl is evil. I hope my daughter doesn't turn into this.
Girl is evil.
So, I mean, what are we doing as dads to make sure that these aren't our kids growing up? Because in a way, I still feel bad for these girls. I feel like something was very clearly missing, or they wouldn't be looking to do the things they're doing and they wouldn't be prioritizing the way they are. But at the other hand, I just want to make sure that's not my kids. What else can we do? What else do we do with our kids? And also for my son, now I'm like, I got to warn my son that there are girls out there that are going to do this. Like, oh my God. All right. Anyway, so that's the first part of the story of the trip to Philly. And I've talked quite a bit here on my own. Doug, what are we doing to avoid this from happening in our kids? This will be one of our very rare parenting advice segments. What do we do to avoid this? You've got two daughters. Like, is this something that's been on your mind? Have you ever thought about something like this before? Do you look that way, or
Well, I mean, I think you're right that just being present and kind of having a male role model to show how you should be treated. I mean, that fixes a lot of this because if you already have male attention from dad, then you don't need male attention as you're growing up. You're already getting a lot of it at home. And I mean, if you have that, you really don't have to worry because it's, 99.9% effective.
you went there? Another way I don't want to think about my daughters. Oh, thanks, Doug.
Welcome. I have not personally thought with my daughters about, I've never envisioned them doing the entrapment game, but I have definitely envisioned oh my gosh, he won't even notice me, or, oh, he's only paying attention to, you know, the other girl over there and all that stuff. And I mean, it's kind of the same as I've always felt, slash, I know I've espoused this on different episodes for different reasons. Your kids are still their own people. They still will make their own choices and make their own decisions and have their own personalities. And you can't guarantee that they won't veer off and go down a bad path, or at least a path that you don't want, that you just can't guarantee it. But I don't know. It's sort of like bumper guards. Like if you're an otherwise good, functionally, safe and confident and helpful parent, it is still possible to not knock down a single pin at the end of the bowling lane. But it's really hard. You almost have to get an unlucky bounce to have that happen. Even if you're aiming for it, it's hard to actually do it. So that's kind of how I feel with the bumper guards thing. If you just do what you need to do as a parent, your kids will have some semblance of success at the end of it, just because you've directed them the whole way. I think the big one for me is that a lot of this is going to sound kind of the main data point for something like this, I think, is first of all, whether or not dad is around, and second of all, how much dad actually cares to be involved. An involved around dad stops this kind of behavior where you're pining for male attention. I believe that seems to be what the data says, and that just seems to be what's observed. Women who know daddy loves them kind of know how other men should treat them because that's their baseline. And so they naturally avoid the men who actually give a crap about makeup versus no makeup and who would even you're also less likely to be in a situation with a guy who's just looking to, hook up or whatever. You at least have another boy who maybe has had some similar parent rearing on their end for you have to treat women this way and look out for these kinds of things. But I think what gets lost in that is that there is still some reliance on mom in this too. And it's because it's not just how dad treats you when you're the daughter. I think it's also seeing how dad treats mom, what dad thinks of mom, and having the female role model backing up or corroborating, if you will, some of the same things that dad says. That's like what drives it home.
So that the relationship modeled by mom and dad is going to be as important as the dad affection and dad attention. It's what they're putting onto you to show you is an appropriate relationship. Yeah.
Yes, and it's not just that. So when dad says if he only likes you with makeup and he doesn't really like you, like daughters will hear that. They will. But when mom says something like, "Oh yeah, your dad actually, doesn't really prefer me with makeup. He tells me all the time that he just, prefers me without makeup." That little extra oomph is like the validation of like if they're ever looking to be like mom in even just a couple of ways, that will kind of drive home the point of the kind of guy you're supposed to end up with is dad because look at this like symbiosis here, this like agreement, if you will. And that's what really shows. It's the real world, like it's not just advice and then it gets followed up with look, the advice works because here it is right now. It's kind of like the display, the exhibit of your advice, like right then and there. And I think if you have that teamwork kind of thing, that's really what cements it. And then it becomes 99.99% effective. Even better.
99.99% effective. Okay, good. I like it. It doesn't, there's nothing that's going to really assuage my fear after experiencing that firsthand. At some point, I should have stopped in and been like, hey, excuse me, what's your relationship with your dad like? I should have asked. But yeah, again, just didn't want to be that creeper on the train. That's not where I wanted
You know
to.
what? That would have been an even better story.
It would have been a better story. I'm sorry that I was not
Should have
willing to
done
go
it.
out there for you guys on that level. All right, so that's the train ride to Philly. That's pretty much what we dealt with. They got off at Penn Station in New York, and they were all dolled up, and all their stuff was up, and yeah, and they left. And I
Okay.
had a
You're
very
not about to progress past this, are you, though?
oh yes.
You're not going to. Okay. Well, hold on. There's the other entrapment thing, too.
Oh well, let's talk about the entrapment thing then. Let's talk about warning our kids about entrapment.
Let's just touch on that real quick.
Yeah.
This is like the other part that you don't think about when you have a son, which I believe, Tom, you and I both have one of them.
As far as I know, I only have one.
As far as I know, your main goal is always, you're bigger and stronger, don't hit girls, treat women with respect, all the gentlemanly, chivalrous things that you're supposed to do, even when society says, you don't need it anymore. But that does swing both ways, is that the same way that you can take advantage of women, women can take advantage of you. And that's part of the reason why a good man loves a good woman is because in some different but very certain ways, a good woman can take care of herself most of the time too, which means she's capable of doing things that can hurt other people too. And so it's just the same thing. You always have to be on guard because you are going to have to use your skill set for somebody and you'll have to devote it to somebody, presumably your children, and you want to make sure that you don't have to worry about that skill set being mishandled by anybody else.
agree with all of that. I think my concern is that now I'm gonna have to, we're going into a society, and maybe this has always been prevalent, and I was just never successful or desirable enough that a woman trapped me. But now, we're moving forward where if my son, who is exceptionally smart and probably has some measure of success in his future, if he finds success and he's on that path, I need to make sure I've prepared him and warned him and I've got him on the defensive against this. And frankly, when you're young and you're out and you're exploring and you're having relationships and you're building who you are and you're meeting girls and you're going through the courtship thing, the last thing you should have to worry about is this person trying to trick, trap, and deceive me? That's just not something you should have to worry about when you engage with someone on a personal level like that. And I'm just kind of sad that I actually have to have that talk with my son now. And apparently I do. Like I feel like it's a very real priority now. But man, it's something I never even thought about, never worried about. And yeah, apparently, I mean, there are people out there trying to trap you. I hadn't thought about it. I really had not. NBA players and athletes and celebrities, like you think about that because you hear some of those crazy dramatic stories and they get publicized and that kind of stuff. But I don't think these girls were hooking up with professional athletes. I don't think that's the ballpark that they were in. And yeah, just weird. Just weird.
You know, well, lucky me, I had a friend when I was younger who, let's just say, is part of a very wealthy family. And he told me one time that when he was 15, 14, 15, he said his dad sat him down and had what they call in the family the other talk, which was, here's some things we picked up as a family where we try to figure out slash know if they're actually just with you for your money.
I think you've mentioned this before because this sounds real familiar. Yeah.
Yeah, even just simple boyfriend girlfriend stuff, not any physical contact or anything. Just here's little things you can do to try to wedge that out that they found. And so that stuck out to me because he's not like professional athlete, like world renowned or anything like that. But once you made the connection, you were like, oh, okay, yeah, like you could figure out that there is some funds there. I just thought that was so terrible. Like when you're 15, you do not want to have that other talk. You just want to be, a kid.
Yeah.
I just had a tiny little, maybe let's call it epiphany, like while sitting here, especially for a young male, because they're always the, pinnacle of righteousness and rationality and making good decisions in intense moments, right smack in the middle of puberty. You can probably just paint it as them screwing over themselves. Yes, she might be trying to trap you, but you don't even need to know if she's trapping you or not. Just know that if you put yourself in that situation from a young man's perspective, you might be trapping yourself. It doesn't matter what her intentions are. It takes two to tango.
Yeah.
And being the male, you are most likely, not 100%, I'm most likely going to be more physically dominating. So you are always the one who has the capability to get out of the situation, physically remove yourself from the situation. So at some level, no matter what, you pretty much have only yourself to blame.
Yeah.
Now there are exceptions, if she
Roofies or
drugs you or something
and
like
yeah.
that,
Yeah.
right. But boy, but then it's tougher to make the magic happen too. So as the male, you do always have some agency in any version of any consummation, no matter what the
Right.
lady's motivations are. So that's, I think, from a son's perspective, you can always kind of say, hey, this is at least like 15% your fault, buddy, no matter which way you slice it. So, you know.
Yeah, I remember my mom essentially telling me, like when she found out that I was sexually active as a high schooler, like make sure you use a condom. At the end of the day, this is your responsibility, and I don't want to hear a cop out. I don't ever want to hear you blame something on someone else. At the end of the day, your responsibility is to make sure you're protected and use a condom. And I always remembered that, and go mom, it was good advice. Yeah, okay. Yeah, stuff I didn't want to have to think about with my kids. But hey, for a dad's podcast, I guess we
But you
probably should
have
delve into some of
to.
this. You do, yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of uncomfortable
Yeah.
stuff we don't want to think
Otherwise,
about. We
you're
probably should. Even the roofies thing. I probably am going to have that conversation and prepare my kids, especially my daughters, to be like, hey, by that time they're old enough to be out, there's going to be more alcohol and more drugs, more available. I mean, drugs are more available now than they were when I was in high school. And I just imagine that I'm going to have that conversation with my girls. Be very careful, you know? Hey, yeah, stuff you don't want to think about, but you have to as a parent.
Yeah, it's sad, but yeah, I think no matter what, it's just as long as you're the baseline, kids have really, really far to fall from the baseline. And kids are smart. Kids are aware of what's going on around them most of the time. So they'll know at the very least if they're, not doing their end of the bargain. They'll know. And that's the best you can do really, because what your other option is to imprison them in your basement, which the law frowns upon, I believe, still. So
Pretty sure it does. Yeah. There's a guy in Ohio who tried that relatively recently. Yeah.
oh really? I gotta go.
Freaking Ohio. All right. So
Nothing else happens here.
moving on beyond the heavy-handed dad stuff, you've now gotten some dad advice, which we don't do very often. As a cast that believes we're more of a how not to than a how to.
No,
You just got a
I
little
was
how
gonna say
to.
not on purpose.
Yeah, not on
We
purpose.
get plenty of dad advice, and most of it's an accident.
Yeah, most of it's learned from this mistake I made. It's not usually here's what you should do. So train aside, train. Other than that, the train trip was great. It was wonderful. I pulled into the William H. Gray III 30th Street train station like 1 minute late, which is fine. And I got an Uber to take me to my hotel because why not just get an Uber? And uh, my Uber pulls up and it's a red Hyundai. I didn't catch the name of the vehicle, but it's their electric hybrid something. Do you remember the old two-door Honda Civics where like you couldn't fit your friends in the back seat?
Yes,
Yeah, you remember that car? Oh, I'm losing Doug's internet again.
vaguely. Yes, that's no. That was God. That was like 25 years ago.
Yeah, it was when I was learning to drive in like the mid '90s, late '90s. I remember, a buddy had one, and it was I don't know what I don't think it was a Civic, but it was a Honda something. It was two doors, and I mean the whole thing was like 8 feet long, like the whole car from the tip of the hood to the end of the trunk. And there was no room for people in the back seat. It might as well have been a Mazda Miata. You just couldn't fit someone back there. So my Uber driver, his name was Garrick, and he pulls up in this Hyundai electric hybrid thing. And I look at this car, and my first thought is, that's a pretty tiny car for an Uber. And I mean, it's a four-door, it's got back seats, but it was small. And then I look and I realize that the front passenger seat, the seat is pulled forward and the thing is slid all the way up to the front dashboard. And I'm like, oh, see, someone's making room for in the rear seat for somebody. That car is just as small as it looks from the outside. And when I peek in a little further, I see Garrick. This guy is 6'6". The seat all the way back. The seat dropped back almost into the back seat. He can only take one passenger at a time because his seat is pushed all the way back and dropped almost parallel so that he's got room to like slouch back for his head. The transmission died in his normal car and he had to rent one from Uber to do his Uber job. And this is all they had available for him. So I squeezed into the back seat and front seat all the way forward and down, and we're laughing and joking. This guy was really interesting and he was really, really funny. He was a neat guy. But as we're driving through Philly, it was only about a 15 or a 20-minute drive to my hotel. But it was the opening scene from Office Space. I assume you've seen that movie, but you may not have.
Yeah, where he keeps changing lanes and then stopping
Yes.
and staring at everybody.
So that's
Yeah.
exactly what this is, right? We change lanes and then traffic from the lane we left on blows
It's such
by
a
us.
painful scene.
Oh, it was over and over, and I couldn't help but laugh. And he starts like swearing and cursing, and it was priceless. It was really, really funny. I ended up tipping him pretty well just because he was a hoot and he was in a tough spot. And get to the hotel, and I got right to work on something I had to have done for my meeting the next day. Thought I was having dinner with someone that was involved in this big meeting, and they canceled on me last minute. Said, "No, sorry. It turns out it's not ethical for us to meet with you ahead of time. We're gonna have to wait till tomorrow. I apologize." I said, "Yeah, no problem." So now I've got some time to kill. Well, Parks Casino has a great poker room that I've wanted to play in for quite a while. And I've heard lots of fun things about it. I'm like, yeah, I got like 3, 4 hours. Like realistically, it was probably about 4:30 by now. And I could very easily stay out until 10 or 11 and get back to the hotel and get 6 or 7 hours of sleep. I don't have to be anywhere until 8 a.m. the next morning. That was when I was meeting people. So, I mean, there's plenty of time to go out and play cards. And I was like, yeah, let's go play some poker. Why not? We'll go play a little bit of cards. So I take an Uber and, I like my Uber, hop out to Parks Casino. The Uber driver on the way out to Parks from my hotel does not speak English. The message pops up that he's arrived, and I send him a message. Hey, I see that you're arrived, but I can't find you or the vehicle. I don't see you. I'm looking for you. And he responds to me in Spanish. And you would think there'd be some kind of a translation feature. There's not apparently. And so I responded back with no habla
Nope.
español. I can't find you. And he fired back at me in Spanish again. Well, well, that's odd. All right. Eventually, I find the car on the opposite side of the hotel, and I hop in. His name was Guillermo, and I hop in with Guillermo, and the dude does not speak one word of English. He's playing Mexican music or Spanish music or Puerto Rican something. He's playing Latino music on the radio, and I ask him a question, and he literally puts his hand up and waves at me and goes, "No sé, no sé, no sé." Every time I try to ask him a question, "No sé, no sé." What the hell, man? I feel like I'm being abducted here. So he gets me to Parks. I think it was like a 40-minute drive. We had a little bit of traffic, and I think it was about 40 minutes total. We get there, and I go to get out of the car, and I'm tempted to not tip this guy. I really am, but I want to tip, so I tip the guy, and I do it in the app. And I get out of the car, and he rolls the window down, and he goes, "Tomas, Tomas." I said, "See, see." He goes, "Do not forget 5 stars. Do not forget 5 stars." I'm like, motherfucker, you couldn't say one word in English to me this whole trip, but don't forget 5 stars for your Uber review. So I gave Guillermo his 5 stars and tipped him appropriately and went to play some cards. The Parks poker room is exactly as advertised. A lot of recreational players. They bring a lot of money. There's bigger action in those games. They're 1-3 game. The max is 500. Most people seem to be buying in for the max. They're 2-5 game. Everybody bought in for 1,000. I sat at 1-3 first, and I only played for honestly like an hour and 45 minutes. I told myself I was going to play 4 hours because I had 4 hours. I'm like, you can play 4 hours, go get a good night's sleep, log it in your app, and boogie. So I go and sit at a 1-3 table. I didn't play a hand for my first 15, 20 minutes, just didn't have anything to play. And then the button gets to me like, well, bunch of wrecks at my table. I'm going to raise any 2 cards I have here if no one else does. And sure enough, I wind up looking down at like the 9-5 suited of something. And it had limped to me, and I opened it up.
English.
What's that?
You said regs or recs about the people at your
Oh,
table.
Rex,
No, it's not. It's
recreational
fine now.
players. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. Just
Recreational
double checking it
players.
wasn't one of them abbreviations.
Yeah, sorry. No, recreational
Yes.
players. Everyone there is playing to have a good time. None of them are doing this for a career. None of them are doing it for a living. They're all there to have a good time. So I get to the button and I'm like, all right, a bunch of wrecks. I'm just going to open any 2 cards I have. I haven't played a hand in my first like orbit and a half. I'm just going to open up and raise anything. And everybody folds. I'm like, well, screw you guys. Okay, cool. I'll take the money. I'm happy to take the blinds down. But now I decide to open it up. I get a couple of mediocre hands and I'm raising with them, and everybody's folding to me every single time. And so finally I said, you guys are going to have to call me at some point. You can't just, I'm going to raise every single hand until one of you calls me. And so sure enough, I look down at pocket kings the very next hand. Right after I say this, I look down at pocket kings. I'm like, well, that's pretty.
Of course. It's so great.
So people limp in and I'm like, I told you guys. And I opened it up to 35. There were like 4 callers ahead of me. I made it 35. And I get call, raise to 135. Like, yeah, buddy. So I go ahead and I just push all in for like 555 or $570, something like that. And everybody folds, but the first guy who had decided to raise was, I told you I'm gonna play this hand with you. I'm like, no, you didn't. You didn't say a word to me. You just said 135. No, I told you I was gonna play with you. And then he gave like this entire made up fictitious speech of something that he allegedly said out loud to the whole table. And everyone's looking around going, you never said that? What are you talking about? You didn't say a word, but he's got like, it's cinematic. It's like he's William Wallace in front of the army. On this day, I'm going to stand up for my rights to tyrants like you. Like, he was wild. And he claimed that this is all something he told me already. But sure enough, he puts his whole stack in, and he does it with the King 9
That's
suited.
his shtick.
Yeah, I
clearly.
guess so. He does it with king nine suited, and
Oh
of course my hand holds up, and I
man.
get his chips, and it's all good. So I'm feeling pretty good, and he starts griping, "Oh, the one time I call, of course he's got pocket kings, the usual." But he buys back in. We played, I think, for the next 30 or 40 minutes. I didn't have to show a single hand. Every single time I wanted someone out of the pot, it was really crazy. When I wanted someone to call, they called. When I wanted to get someone out of the hand, then I was able to size bets, and I just bet small on the flop and small on the turn, and then blow real big on the river and blow them right off. And it always worked. They always folded. So I only had to turn over, I think, two or three hands total in my first hour, and I found myself up around $1,100 after an hour, which is pretty good.
Woo!
It's not supposed to happen that
Man.
way.
Well, see, those kings are beautiful though,
Yeah,
because you now people are telling themselves, well, he doesn't have kings every hand. So
right.
all this time that you're like raising and playing aggressive, even when you are righteously playing aggressive, they're convincing themselves that you don't have a strong hand, maybe. Like they're just
Yep.
allowing for that now
Yeah.
because you statistics.
Yep.
It ends up helping you
Statistics
even
can't be
more,
every time.
ironically. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
there comes a point where I've raised people off of hands like three or four hands in a row now, and they're all getting sick of my crap again. And someone actually says, so you're not from around here. And I said, no, no, no. They said, well, where are you from? I was like, oh, Connecticut. And he goes, oh, what are the poker rooms like up there? I said, oh, they're much tougher than this. The players are much better. I just went ahead and did it and pulled the trigger. I
Oh
fired the
my
shot across the
God.
bow, and he looked at me and he goes, "Wow, you really want some smoke, huh?" And of course, me being me, I decided to rip off a good line, and I was like, "Hey, man, you bring me the smoke, I'll build you a fire." And he took a second and thought about it, and looked at me kind of funny, and I said, "I love smoke, man. I'm a chimney. I love smoke," and he just really couldn't wrap his head around it. And finally, I said, "You're not a hip hop fan, huh?" And he goes, "No." I was like, "Yeah, I didn't think so." And he didn't get it, but he was very confused. The very next hand, I looked down at 6-7 suited, 6-7 of hearts, and I'm gonna cut off.
Local man beaten to death outside casino.
Yeah, they could try. It'd be fun. It'd be my exercise for the whole trip. So I looked down at the 6-7 of hearts, and at this point we're playing seven handed. I stacked one guy, and he decided not to buy back in, and someone else just got ticked off when I told him I had bluffed him on a river, and he just picked up his remaining $70 and walked away. So we're down to seven handed, and somebody opened he min raised it. He made it like $6 or $7, and it gets around to me in the cutoff, and I made it 30, and like four people called. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, I didn't want that many calls with 6-7 of hearts. That's not really what I was going for. But then the flop comes 8-9-10 with the 8-9 of hearts. So I flopped the
Oh
smallest.
no.
Yeah, I've got the straight,
And
and I've
this
got a
you've got
flush
the
draw.
open-ended straight flush.
Yeah, yeah, the open straight flush draw to boot. But right now I've
Oh
got like the third
man.
nuts, and I'm feeling pretty good about it. So the guy that I was just talking trash to about, being a chimney and loving smoke, and I'd build him a fire if he wants to bring me the smoke, he opens for like $40 and gets call, fold. So now it's like 220-ish,
Feels like a
250 in the
top
pot.
top, like an ace eight or something
Well,
like that, or ace nine, something
no,
like that from him
betting that
maybe.
small, I thought maybe it was like a nine jack or a 10 jack, like one, like a pair with a jack for an open ended straight draw, like something like that. That's kind of where I put him on because you bet it on the smaller
Right. So I
end.
mean he's got at least a mid pair. He's got a
Yeah.
mid pair and something.
I figure you
Yeah.
either top pair with a jack for a straight draw or like a jack nine suited something. And since it's the nine of hearts is on the board, he doesn't have the flush draw. Like, I'm not worried about that. And then a bunch of guys called him. So it gets to me and I made it 180. And I told him, I said, no, 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 we're going to heat this up. And I made it 180. And he calls all in. He's got like 220 or 230 total. And he just immediately snap calls me. And everyone else folds. And he turns over Jack 10 and he goes, I got top pair, and I think that's already enough, but just in case I've got the straight draw. And he's very happy about this when he says it. Like, he's super excited.
Oh, no.
And I turn
I
over
mean,
my
it's not
hand.
a bad flop though. Like
No,
from his
no, it's
position, it's
yeah,
not.
it's a great one
But
for
it's
him.
not
If
a it's not a push all in though, like kind of thing ever at this
Well, when you've
rate.
only got 220 left and the pot's already more than that, it is. Like it probably is. Because if I call him, then
Not with
that
your
means he's
initial
getting three to
bet.
one. No, no, maybe not
No,
initially.
not with your initial bet though. At the very least, he should expect to be out kicked. He should be facing king 10 or something.
He should be looking at an overpair. But if he's looking at an overpair there with the
Yeah,
story that I was telling, he still has all the straight draws.
that's why I said at the very least. Jack 10 is not your initial bet signaled at least his hand, if not better, right now.
Right.
It
But
should
but
have.
considering he had less than a pot size stack behind him, and if I call, that means he's going to get more than 3-1 on his money. As long as he's less than a 3-1 dog, it makes perfect sense. And if he's got
I
tens, jacks, sevens, and queens for outs, that's a ton of outs. And he's definitely better than 3-1. So it makes sense, I think. I think his spot made sense. I just couldn't believe he did it so quickly because there were still people behind him that could have acted
well,
too.
that's what I mean. It made, but even if it makes sense financially, you're behind.
Yeah.
So you're also just more likely to like, it's just you're behind. End of story.
Yes, but you're looking at it wrong. It's
You
it's
know.
not a, it's not about whether you're behind. It's about are you getting the right
Ah.
math to be behind. If you're a 40% underdog, but you're going to win 10-1 on your money, then you do it every time. That's the difference right there. Is you're looking at the value over the long term. If you do this 1,000 times, is it profitable over 1,000 hands? And that's how you have to look at these
Yes, I
decisions.
understand that. But you're talking to someone who got three defective iPods all in a row, which means like 100 other people were perfectly happy with their iPods, and mine never came back around.
Yeah, that's why I'm an Android guy.
Oh,
Uh,
I'm an Android guy. You trust me. I'm an Android guy.
Anyway, without trying to break down like the math
That's
on it and
fair.
trying to get technical, I won the hand. It held up, and I got his money, and didn't play any other exciting hands until the very last one of the table. We get down to five-handed, and there's a guy on my right who is playing like face-up poker. Like it's every time he has a hand, it's dead obvious he has a hand, and he tries to trap. And every time he doesn't have a hand, he's betting like half or 60% pot to try to bluff at it. Literally 100% of the time. And we get into a pot where he raises to $25 and I'm on his left. And I look down at ace queen suited and I made it $80 and everyone else folds and he calls. And the flop comes two diamonds, 10 high board. I've just got overcards. My ace queen was not diamonds, I think it was clubs. And he bets small ish. He bets like 45 or $50 into a $160 pot. And I haven't seen him bet it when he actually has it before the river once all night. So I'm like, oh, so you don't have this. You either have a draw of some kind, or you've got nothing and you just think I've got ace, king, ace, queen, and I missed. So I raised him, put 100 on top, and he called. The turn comes a diamond, and he's got chips in his hand, and he pulls him back and checks. And I went, oh, you probably got the diamonds then. Holy crap, he's actually checking this to me. Like maybe he's actually got it. But the story that I was telling on the flop is that I have an overpair. That's the story I started pre-flop, the story I started on the flop. So I decide I'm going to start playing some head games, and I go down and I peel both my cards one at a time, like I'm doing a check to see if I've got a diamond in there. And then I go ahead and I bet $150. And he
Have
looks
you
and
done this at any point this whole time you've been at the table? Or is this the
no,
first time you've done the card check?
first time, yeah.
See, any smart player would have been like, nope, getting the hell out of this hand because that's a new move.
Well, sure enough, he snap calls, like no hesitation, just immediately calls me. And when he does it that fast, I went, oh, he's in trap mode. Shit, he just made his flush. Okay, great. So he's got the flush. So now what do I do? Well, I'm probably going to give up on this river, I think. I think I have to give up on the river unless another diamond comes and it's a low diamond. And then I can bet kind of big and pretend like I've got pocket aces or pocket kings with the diamond, assuming he doesn't have one of those. I know he won't check the river if he's got an ace or a king of diamond. If he's got one of those two, he's going to bet it. Anything else, I'll probably check and trap. Sure enough, the 10 of diamonds, or the 10 of diamonds, it was the four of diamonds. Four diamonds spills on the river. And you can like see him do this little thing with his lips. Like he's not happy about this. And he checks. And I went, oh, baby. He's got like the jack or the
Uh,
queen high flush. This is
he's
great.
Yeah,
So I thought
some
about
sort
it.
of baby flush or something.
Right. So I sat there for a minute and I'm carving out chips and I'm thinking about it. And I grabbed a stack of green chips and I start shuffling my green chips. And he goes, you know, I checked, right? I said, yeah, I'm trying to decide how much I'm going to bet. And he goes, no matter how much you bet, I'm either going to raise you or call you. It's like, oh, well, I guess I should probably just go big enough that you can't raise me then, you know? And he goes, no matter what you do, I'm going to raise you or call you. I have no choice. I said, okay, well, in that case, I'm all in. And I just put a stack of $100 chips out in the middle. And he had, at this point, after all the other betting we'd done, I think I had like 1,300 in front of me. And he had like 700 left in front of him. And he looks at me and goes, fuck, what a fucking river. He starts cursing and swearing. And I was like, yeah, man, did you make it on the turn? Like you really had it on the turn? Did I really need that river? And he's like, yes, I had it on the turn. He picks up his hand. He had like the queen deuce of diamonds. So he turned the queen high
He
flush.
shouldn't even be there.
So he turned the queen high flush, and he's like, "Ah, I cannot believe that friggin' river. Like the straight comes in and this comes in." And I'm looking at it going, the straight. And I could have had like an ace, I think it was ace three would have given me the wheel. Like, but that was not the story I was telling at all the whole time. Like, there's no way I've got the straight. He goes, like the straight gets there, but the diamonds came. If you got the ace or the king of diamonds, like I was so far ahead of you on the trade. He's going through this whole dialogue, and all I did was like, yeah, man, I really thought I was ahead the whole time. I'm sorry, I didn't realize I needed that. Like I didn't even realize I needed the river. Like that is kind of shitty. And he's just like going on, and I'm like, I mean, you did say you were gonna call, like. You did tell me you were going to call, and
Like, you should give me your money.
and he's getting all ticked off, and he's like, I feel like I should. There's just so much money in there now. I'm like, dude, you got the queen high flush. You got like the third nuts. I wouldn't lay that down straight up. I would not fold that right here. He's looking at me, and so I go to my cards again, and I peel the top one, and I slide it under the other one, and I pick the other one up. So he can't see it, and I'm like, it's cool, man. Like I totally understand. Whatever you got to do, you got to do. But we probably should make a decision here. And he picks him up and throws him in the muck, like face first. He goes, I don't know if you got aces or kings, but whatever you got, it's fucking good. And I picked up both my cards and threw them in face up one at a time. The ace and the queen, they were both black. I think they were clubs. And he started cursing. The dealer started laughing. Like it was great. It broke the table. Like everybody else left. They went and found different seats instead of playing four-handed. But he was like cursing and swearing. I felt on top of the world. I'm like, man, this is fucking great. This poker room is so soft. Everything works here. This is unreal. So our table breaks. I go to a 2-5 game. They're playing 2-5-10. They've got an automatic straddle on. So every pot pre-flop is like between $40 and $85 minimum to see a flop. And I played for like 30 minutes. I think
Wait, gun straddle or button straddle?
Gun straddle under the gun.
Okay.
So I played for like 30 or 35 minutes. And then just realized I wasn't comfortable like playing these massive big pots. I was tired, and I'm like, I'm not sharp, and I don't want to drink coffee to wake up. So I wound up leaving. I think I gave up like $150, over like an hour. I walked out. I think I made 1,600 at 1-3 in like less than 2 hours. It was crazy. So I still walked out feeling pretty good. And I think it was just under 1,500 total when I walked out. And instead of playing for 4 hours, like I told myself I was going to, I just went back to the hotel early and went back to some stuff I wanted to work on for the next day and familiarized myself again with some points and had a really good night. So first night in Philly, despite being traumatized by high school or college girls and then like having to laugh at my Uber driver who was crammed in and then wanting to kill the other Uber driver. Oh, and on the Uber on the way back, I got another non-English Uber driver. So apparently this is very common in the city and I didn't realize it. This guy, I believe, was Asian, did not speak a word of English the whole time. I tried to engage him. He was not having it. No real good stories there, except that I shared the car with someone else. We did an Uber share ride. And that guy had to tell me he does flooring in Philadelphia and told me stories about every celebrity and athlete for whom he's done the floor in his house. And it was quite the list. It was funny. But our driver spoke no English and had a hard time finding my hotel, even with his GPS. His GPS started doing this weird thing where it was like flipping the orientation on his phone while we were driving. And I think it has to do something with the fact that he was watching TikTok videos. Every single time we stopped at a red light or a stop sign, even if it was like a 3-second stop, he would switch off the Uber navigation app and pull up TikTok and start going through videos. And they were weird videos. Like one of them was someone dressing like a warehouse with a pig hanging upside down and this like robotic machine like gutting the pig with like a chainsaw straight down the middle and then opening it and innards falling out. Like this is the stuff he was watching. And all I could think was, man, killed by a serial killer in Philadelphia with cash in my pocket. Like this is not the way to go. But yeah, something with his phone went haywire and he had a hard time finding the hotel. And it took me like an hour to get back to the hotel. Other than that, successful first night. Next day, everything goes well. Trip was great. Meetings go fine. No exciting stories.
Your Uber drivers are like the guys in Family Guy where it's just like, oh, you speak English? No, just that last sentence in this one explaining it. It's like, okay.
Yeah, it's kind of how it felt. I could have done without the pig disemboweling videos and the strange busty Asian women like dancing around in weird costumes.
You
I could
know,
have done without that.
that might be that might be partially self-defense. Like just watch really weird shit.
Make people shut
And
up in your
then if
car and
you
not
have
want to mess
it,
with you.
yeah, if you have a weirdo in your car and they're like, he might be as weird as I am, I probably don't want to do anything.
I decided to mess with the guy in the car with me, the flooring guy at one point, and he said something about it. It was right before the pig video. Something else that was disturbing popped up, and I don't remember what it was, but it really messed with the flooring guy that was sharing the ride with me. And he said something about it, and I was like, no, 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 you relax, relax. Like mathematically speaking, this Uber driver is almost certainly safe. Hey, what do you mean mathematically? I was like, well, statistically, it would be really, really, really hard for there to be two serial killers in the same car at random. And the guy just looked at me and didn't realize I was making a joke. He tried to make sense out of it. And like then he got a little bit concerned that our conversation faltered. And I was like, oh, well, I tried to use dark humor. It didn't go my way. All right. Well, so be it. But yeah, so that Uber ride was a little less exciting.
You walk past 8 serial killers in your life, you've only got 6 more. Make them count.
Yep, make them count. Cross one more off your list tonight. But so everything else in the trip went great. The next 2 days were pretty non-eventful. Train ride back. Well, before the train ride back, one other thing I wanted to talk about. So I need to give some reference for this. I was in Kuwait and Iraq for the invasion of Iraq, 2003. Okay. We didn't have things like electricity or running water or plumbing. Like we didn't have those things. When we needed to go to the bathroom, when we had to go ahead and drop on number two, we were pooping in like empty 50-gallon steel drums that we buried 2/3 the way in the sand. And we put plywood over them, cut holes in the plywood, and we sat and pooped into those things. And then, like every couple of days, you douse it with JP8, diesel gasoline, basically, and light it on fire and stir it with a stick. And that was how you cleaned it and made room for more poop. That was how you pooped in the desert because there was no other way for us to do it after we blew up all the plumbing in Baghdad and we're pooping out in the middle of the desert. And, pooping was not fun. That being said, the
Just
bathroom.
found our title.
Okay. The bathrooms.
Pooping was not fun.
Pooping was not fun. The bathrooms at the William H. Gray III 30th Street train station in Philadelphia made pooping in Iraq seem like a paradise. These bathrooms were filthy. You walked in and the smell hit you right in the face. You had to wait for a stall to open up. You've got luggage and stuff with you that you're bringing on the train. Like I had a suit bag and a carry-on bag and had to find a place to put it where I wasn't like sitting it in a puddle of pee. And I took notes on my phone because I wasn't a long poop. I was trying to get out of there as quick as possible. But while I was in there, the following things happened. Okay. My notes are
Very
titled
clear choice.
Pooping in a Train Station Bathroom, Worse Than Iraq. Stall next to me, guy eating a sandwich. I can hear him chomping down and making weird open mouth chewing noises. I only knew at the end that that's what it was because he threw down half of the sandwich in a wrapper still right before he said, "Damn, that was good," and flushed. It was like one of those fake croissant sausage, egg, and cheese sandwiches you'd get at a gas station. And it was like a half to 2/3 eaten. And he was clearly eating it while he was sitting on the toilet stall and then just like threw it on the floor and like egg exploded everywhere into the stall. It was really gross. But he was doing that while he was pooping in a public train station stall. So that was, gross. A guy across from us in a stall. My notes are guy bumping Waterfall by TLC. There was a group sing along. This was kind of fun, but very strange. A guy had it on his phone with no headphones, volume cranked all the way up to the max, just
Oh
blasting
man.
it. And me and one other guy went ahead and did the rap bit. Left Eye does her rap bit in that, and me and one other guy in there did this because no one else could do the rap bit. I assume he was the guy that was bumping it, and then we got a very bizarre like round of applause from other people who were sitting on the stalls pooping after we did the rap bit. It was kind of awkward and whatever. Waterfall ends, and my next note is guy talking, and then in parentheses on phone to himself about testing positive for HIV. Didn't see that one coming. Fuck. Should have seen that one
Fun.
coming. Yeah, I guess so. And he just rambled on and on and on. And I don't know if he was talking to himself. It sounded like he was having a conversation with someone, but he was just talking about testing for positive for HIV.
Both of these things could be true.
I,
He
I, yeah.
could be talking to someone and talking to himself.
Okay. Well, that's.
Just gonna throw
I'm
that out
not
there.
going to make them
If you don't
mutually
like it,
exclusive then.
just send
Yep.
it right back.
It could be. There was a business deal happening for someone who runs a nightclub and was firing up a nightclub promotion. And there, he was arguing very, very vehemently about how much he was willing to pay someone and what they should be charging at the door. And he was having an argument while he was exploding from the waist down on the toilet. He was in the stall right next to me after the food eating guy. And he bitched about the sausage, egg, and cheese sandwich on the floor, which was kind of funny, like while he was doing his thing. But he was having a very
And
vehement,
you were
loud
like, "Oh, I
argument
know where
about
that came from."
it. Yeah. My next note is literally just a quote from someone who I don't think was pooping. I think he was talking to someone at the door. It sounded like he was kind of in the like outside and in the walkways, and he was actually talking to someone. And his quotes, he was shouting this old gravelly voice. I've been doing this in Philadelphia since December 1968. I told the police officers and detectives when I got here I was moving in. 61 years I've been going through this. I know this shit. Philly knows me. I ain't worried about Philly. Philly worries about me. I've been doing this since before you was born. I've been doing this since before your parents were having sex. I've been doing this a long ass time. After this, I had to go do the math. If he has, in fact, been doing this since December of
No,
1968, he has not been doing it for
it's only been
61 years.
56 years. It's only
Right.
been 56 or 57 years.
The
Yeah, it's
math,
wrong.
the math did
That
not
was the
check.
first thing I thought. I was like, wait a
Yeah.
minute, let's check the math real quick.
But he was loud. And those were just the notes that I could like get down and scribble in because he started talking real fast and I missed a lot. And I couldn't get the other guy's counterpoint because I would have missed. His was the gold. But he's shouting this with someone in the bathroom stalls, and that was kind of funny. And then the last note that I took was, and this one made me kind of sad, is as I was leaving, I'm trying to get all my stuff, like try to get all my stuff back on my bag, back on my back. And someone walked into the stall next to me and I just heard, oh, and the quote I have is, where do I put this without a hook? Where's the hook? Why doesn't this bathroom stall have a hook? I really need a hook. And the dude just kind of moped
That's
and
so
simped,
sad.
and I felt so sad for this guy. So of course I said, "Hey, I'm about to get out of this stall, man. If you need a hook, this one's got two good hooks." And he didn't say a word to me. Like I froze him up, and he just like wouldn't say a word. And I was like, "What? All right." So I was very happy to leave that train station. But yes, that train station bathroom, I kid you not, was one of the worst pooping experiences of my life. And I don't recommend that train station, and will forever think of that as like the bottom point, the absolute rock bottom of public bathrooms is going to be that train station for the rest of my life. I've never
You
seen
could even
anything quite
say
like
the
it.
shittiest bathroom.
You could.
You know, the story would have been fantastic if some young guy walked in and said, "Man, I think that bitch was trapping me. I think she wanted me to get her pregnant."
That would have been perfect.
That would have been the best. You would have been like, "Oh, well, yep, Matrix. We're in
Yeah,
a Matrix right
yeah.
now." This is it.
That would have been about as perfect as nipples and Beardy. Like that really would have been that
Yeah,
perfect
right.
tie-in.
That's what exactly. Yeah.
Oh man, I wish that had happened. Did I ever tell you the story about when I was on base doing some stuff and a Navy guy ran in like shitting himself? Did I ever tell you that story? Probably not. You'd
Let's
recognize
go
it.
with no because there's zero bells going off in
All
my
right, so
head right
we're
now.
telling crappy stories on this episode then. So
Clearly.
I was on the Groton New London sub base, and I was in the food court and having a sandwich, and then I went to go use the bathroom, and I just took a leak, and I'm washing my hands, and as I'm washing my hands, I hear, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. And the door to the bathroom goes flying open and slams a wall, and a guy in a full Navy uniform comes barreling into the bathroom, and he's literally fumbling at his belt as he runs, going, "Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh shit!" Runs into the bathroom stall, like doesn't even close the door behind him, like just gets in there, and he's cursing and swearing, and all of a sudden I hear, "Son of a bitch!" and and I didn't know what happened for sure, but I kind of suspected he didn't make it in time. And he starts cussing and swearing. And sure enough, I find out he defecated in his uniform. He didn't make it there before he had to poo. So he pooed in his uniform. And we're in the PX. Like the PX is kind of like for those who don't know, it's the store on base where you buy all the stuff. You buy clothes, you buy uniforms, you buy whatever. You can get everything there, household goods and computers. But what you can't buy there, unless in most bases, like you can't buy dress uniforms, you can't buy like official uniforms. You have to go to a different army clothing store for most of that. But they have clothes. And I'm in there and I'm listening, and the army guy in me is loving this. The army veteran who loves to dog on Navy guys is just like, oh, that's a funny one. But the human in me feels bad for this guy. And I'm like, hey man, everything all right in there? He goes, no, I fucking shit myself. It's like, okay, all right. I kind of figured. It's like, I'm not gonna come
Just
in
checking.
there. Right. I was like, I'm not gonna come in there, but can I help? Like, can I go get you a pair of shorts to put on? Like another, like, what do you need? Do you need a pair of shorts? Do you need socks? Like, what do you need? I don't know what kind of a mess you just made. He goes, man, I need a new shirt. I need new pants. I need new fucking shoes. I was like, your shirt? Somehow he got it on his shirt. He's like, man, it's on my hands. It's on my fucking wrist. It's on my watch. I'm like, okay. I'm not going to buy you a watch, but tell you what I'll do. I'll go into the PX. I'll get you some clothes. I'll get you some baby wipes if I can find them, and I'll bring them back in. Oh, thanks, man. Thank you so much. I'm so sorry I sweared at you. Thank you so much. Yeah, man, no problem. So I go into the PX. And this is where the human side of me takes a little bitty step back, and the army veteran in me takes a giant leap forward. Because I'm looking through the clothes and I'm like, all right, what can I find? Like a PT shirt, like a plain gray, plain white? Ooh, bright pink. Definitely a size too small for the big guy I saw running there. I'm getting him that shirt. Okay, we'll get you some basketball shorts. Yeah, we're gonna get him like a size smaller than I think you need. Let's instead of that XL, we're just gonna get you a large. We'll see how that goes. He's a pretty big guy. I bought him flip flops. I bought him socks. But the flip flops were like this bright yellow with like some weird, crazy orange pastel paisley. Yeah. So I did buy him clothes and I did help him out and get him clean clothes. But it was probably not something you'd want to be seen in public in. And yeah, that's what I brought him. And I did bring him clean clothes. And I found baby wipes and brought him baby wipes. They called them something else. They were in the camping section and they were called something else. But yeah, I brought the guy a whole kit to clean himself and make himself presentable, and a plastic bag from the PX to put his soiled clothing in. And I wanted to hang around and see him walk out, but I had somewhere to be. So I was really sad I couldn't like stay and snap a picture as he walked out of the bathroom. But I hooked him up and I bought him some clothes and I helped him out. And I was a good guy.
So did anything like mildly bad but not super bad happen to you not long after that?
No,
Because you deserve it.
no, karma doesn't apply when it's Navy Army guys messing with each other.
Oh yeah.
Karma. She takes a joke, she laughs, and she appreciates it. Karma needs entertainment too. All right, Karma's not some like uptight stiff with a stick up her butt. Karma likes a good laugh now and then, and the Army Navy rivalry is a good place to get that laugh.
I'm gonna go ahead and say that your health problems were
They all stemmed from that moment.
there you go. This was it. It was the flip flops. You were gonna get a
Maybe
pass until you
maybe
did the
that's
flip
it.
flops.
The flip flops were one bit too much.
Yeah, or he just got lucky and he had done something shitty earlier, and this was his
Oh,
retribution.
he did something shitty just at that time. He was real
He
shitty what he
did.
did.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, I understand. Well, excuse me. Let me be real careful about how I say this sentence because this hasn't actually happened to me. But I can understand how some would get on like his shirt. If you have one of those like longer shirts, that tuck in real nice and go all the
Yeah,
way
so
down, like I could
the
understand how
Navy
that might
uniform
be.
has an undershirt that tucks in, and then like a button
Well,
jacket. It's the
yeah.
jacketish top. It's a heavier
Well, can
top that
you
hangs
order
down just
like,
past your
oh, I
waist.
want this size, like, that goes, but like, because for me, like, if I have a chance, I'll pick one of my like longer shirts because when it tucks in, it just feels more like smooth and like together
Well,
and
you only
fluid,
tuck in your
and
undershirt.
it can go down through my butt.
You only tuck in the
Yeah,
undershirt. You don't
that's what I
tuck in the
mean. Like,
overshirt. So I don't know, maybe, and maybe that's what he meant. I don't know.
Thomas,
That would make
I don't
sense.
care what shirt it is. It doesn't matter what shirt it is, but when you're tucking in a
Yeah,
shirt,
that's fair.
I find it's much more comfortable if there's some extra length there because then, you kind of get a more of a seamless feel. It's much more soft and cushy
Okay.
and happy. And yes, a lot of time it goes down the crack line.
Well, whatever it was, I made sure that I provided him with a clean set of clothing that he could then wear to make his exit. I don't think he was going back to work in that clothing,
You
but
should have just given him toddler clothes and just be a real dick about it.
that would have been too mean. Even I'm not that mean. Maybe if he was Coast Guard, but yeah.
Man, brutal.
Yeah. The Army Navy thing's a different level thing. All right, so those are my poop stories and my Philadelphia stories.
Oh, again, I've had enough friends that I realized this. That's why I was able to
Yeah.
really piss you off that one time a couple of recordings ago. Oh man, that was great. I really loved that.
Dad jokes?
This feels like dad jokes and go. Been
Yeah,
running along a while.
we have over an hour, I think. Yeah,
Told a bunch of shitty stories and
I
it's
have.
good.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
have.
All right. So Tom,
Yeah.
speaking of again pregnancy jokes, why is it so great to be a test tube baby?
Oh goodness. Why is it? Why
You
is it
have you
great to
have
be a test tube baby?
yes, you have the skills to get here, to get to this one. I'm sure you do. Actually, you have the skills to get to both, but this is the one I think you have a better shot at getting.
I've got nothing coming to mind. Why is it great to be a
Okay.
test tube baby?
It's unfortunate.
Because it guarantees you're not being born in Alabama.
It doesn't guarantee that at all.
Well, according to the Alabama laws that we discussed like 40 episodes ago, it kind of does. What was that episode? Vini in vitro?
Yeah, Vini vitro. No, that just means you that just guarantees you'd be a bastard in vitro, baby.
Yeah, I don't know. Why is it great to be a test tube
No,
baby?
you get a womb with a view
All right. Yeah, I don't love it.
because it's a test tube, so you can see out of it.
But it's not a womb. And then when you are put in the womb, you don't have a different view than any other baby.
Man, you are taking this joke like I would, and that's very disappointing.
I'm
I don't
sorry.
know how I feel about
you,
this.
You rubbed off on me a little bit. At least I didn't say something like, well, your eyes aren't developed before you're put in, so you can't see it anyway. Like, I almost went there.
I was going to say, well, I'm not that bad.
No, that's
You
fair.
rubbed off on me. I've come back down. Pun intended. All right, next one. You ready?
Yeah.
How do you get a nun pregnant?
Oh, how do you get a nun pregnant? This is gonna make me mad because I feel like I've heard this somewhere in my dark past. How do you
probably
get a nun
have.
pregnant?
Mhm.
I don't know. Go ahead.
Dress her up as an altar boy.
Yes, I have heard that one. Oh, very good, very good, very
Bazinga.
good. Yeah, that's a bazinga one, and I'm mad I didn't get that one. Like
I know. See, I told you.
I
You
have
had it.
heard that. That's
It was
how I
right
know I'm
there.
tired. That's how I know I'm tired because it's a joke that I've heard, and I just
How you know you're no longer a terrible human being?
gosh, no, I'm
Only
still a
mildly.
terrible human being. I just forgot that one. Man, there's nothing worse than forgetting a joke.
You know, it's
All
but
right.
there's so many to forget. You can have forgotten more than most people know, and it's okay.
All right. I promised you gynecologist jokes, so I've got a couple of those for you. What do a nearsighted gynecologist and a puppy have in common?
What the fuck? I was ready. I was like, okay, nearsighted, like we got this, like I can figure this out. Obvious. Oh, nearsighted. First thought I had did not make sense to nearsighted. They both don't know what to do once they see a pussy cat,
No,
kind of.
no, not even close.
Really
Not even
interesting.
close. Yeah,
I was thinking puppy cat,
yeah. No, I get it, but no,
probably
not even close.
overanalyzing a joke yet again.
Yeah,
I
a
was
little
so
bit.
assuming. Yeah, all right, what is it?
A wet nose. That
Yeah, I
grunt is
never would have
best.
gotten that.
That
It's way-
grunt is the best
it's way too-
stamp of approval.
It's way. It's a good joke, but it's way too simple. I just never never had a chance. You're telling me stuff I don't have a chance at, Tom.
Oh goodness.
Oh, that's good. That's good. All right, I like it.
All right. So, what do a nearsighted gynecologist and a pizza delivery man
Stop
have in
it.
common?
A wet nose.
A no. Nearsighted gynecologist and a pizza delivery man. What do they have in common?
I don't know. They're both always smelling boxes.
They can both smell it, but they can't eat it.
Yeah.
All right.
This was partial credit, I guess.
Yeah, all right. One more. One more.
uh,
What do you call a deaf
uh,
gynecologist?
a deaf gynecologist.
Yeah.
What do you call a deaf gynecologist? I don't know. I want to say it's something simple like a nothing there a mouthful or something like that, but I can't get there.
A lip reader.
Yes.
All right. And the last
Yes,
one.
that was
What do you call a
mm,
blind gynecologist? I almost told it out of order. What do you call a blind gynecologist?
like a lip peeler. Like I gotta Oh, does it have to do with like braille and bumps and stuff? Is this a
Nope.
STD joke?
Nope, it is
Ah,
not.
damn it. I don't know.
A pain in the ass.
Wow.
That's the one I thought you'd
I
like the
never would have
best.
gotten there. Never got there either. Oh my goodness.
Uh,
Woo. Uh,
all right, that's all I got for gynecologist jokes.
oh, thank God. Well, that's it.
That's
Jesus.
it. That's all I got.
Oh, but I'm so mad I forgot this other joke.
Well, that's one that I knew. Like when there's a joke that you know and you can't. That's the
I know.
worst. Because when I was in the army, like before the days of the internet and cell phones, this is what we did to pass the time: was sit around
Right.
and tell
But
jokes. And
that's the point. You have all these mental faculties towards white kids, Howie bathroom, all these other things are just there that's clogged. You gotta make space somehow.
I guess if I got to make
So,
space somehow,
so
the priest jokes and the nun jokes are probably the best things to fall out of my brain. Oh, Father Christopher, if
at
only I could
least
forget about
socially.
you. If only I could forget
Yeah.
about Father Christopher. All right, thank you guys for listening. If you stayed with us, thank you for staying with us. We went down some interesting holes on this one. I think there were rabbit holes, but we went some interesting places.
Uh,
And yeah, thanks for listening. It's good to be back, and hopefully we're back on a weekly basis without missing any more from this point forward.
yeah, and you know what? I realized we fell off the proverbial wagon for giving dad homework and just generally advertising ourselves too.
Did yeah.
We at least if there's no dad homework, I mean, most of it feels like negative action, like don't go to Philadelphia bathrooms and don't end up like with OnlyFans models challenges in case, you end up on Maury Povich or something like that. So negative work, but otherwise, I mean, we got the Patreon. It's moving along, and we got to add some more stuff to it too. We've been admittedly slacking a little bit on some more merchandise, but we put together a few more things that we can toss on some shirts and hats, and we'll try to get those working here soon. And yeah, that's it. We got
Now
some
that the
fun stuff coming, hopefully, and we just gotta get our own ducks in a row.
now that the flu is done ravaging my house, flu A is done destroying my household, and my travel is wrapped up until probably the end of next month. I will try to get us caught back up on Patreon with some stuff for you guys, and we appreciate you guys. Thank you to our patrons, and thanks for listening. Yeah, my dad homework is going to be to tell one person about the podcast. Just tell one person. That's all. And you can even tell them something stupid about it. Be like, hey, listen, this guy talked about pooping in Iraq and compared it to Philadelphia. That's fine. Tell them that. That's all good. Anything stupid you want, share one of our dad jokes and give us credit. Something, just tell one person something about our podcast. Doesn't even have to be good. That's my dad homework for you.
Let me tell you about a podcast because I'm supposed to. It's not even good though.
But I want to pass my homework. I hate this cast, but I still
Yes,
listen
right.
to it.
Yes, exactly. God,
It's the
those
only dad
motherfuckers giving me
podcast that's trending in
homework.
Venezuela right now, and damn it, it's all I can listen to.
Yeah, right. That's probably why Singapore quit on us. We gave them too much homework.
All right, thank you guys. We love you guys. Go, dad, go, and hug your kids. Do make sure your kids know they're loved, and they don't turn into trained,
Yes.
strategizing high school trappers that are just looking to get some guy stuck forever. Hug your kids.
What Tom said.
Peace.
Bye.